Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. The white Hyundai Elantra could be the breakthrough clue we've all been waiting for. In their very latest press release, the police say they are looking for something that could be a small piece of the puzzle. It could even be irrelevant. But there's a way this could be the breakthrough clue. The Independent describes this latest update by law enforcement as perhaps the most substantial development thus far. Before we get to the rest of this episode, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So if the vehicle was used by the killer, that's certainly one possibility out of several. But let's say the vehicle was used by the killer. Let's say it's the killer's vehicle. That actually narrows down the suspect list to perhaps a dozen, theoretically a handful, and possibly just one or two potentialities in the relatively small town of Moscow, Idaho. And it is very hard to imagine if the killer doesn't come forward, or the person who owns the vehicle doesn't come forward, that someone else wouldn't know about that vehicle. Possibly the vehicle is from out of town. They haven't revealed a license plate, which sort of indicates that they don't know for sure who the vehicle belongs to, which is why they are soliciting the public's help. Another thing that is really interesting is they don't provide actual footage of the vehicle. They show stock photos. Now, is this because they don't have footage, because they are basing this on eyewitness reports? And how would they know from an eyewitness report the model number, the make, the year that this vehicle came out? Well, possibly by someone saying, I saw a white car, and then being shown vehicles and then saying, yeah, that's the vehicle that I saw. That's possible. The other possibility is that law enforcement actually have the footage, but they don't want to reveal their hand. That would actually make sense. They don't want to reveal how much they know. Now, I think they don't have the license plate. So whatever they have is possibly not very great quality footage, but good enough to be able to identify the type of vehicle, right? Now, let's say they are able to identify directly or indirectly. Perhaps the person who owns the vehicle comes forward, or someone points a finger at the person whose vehicle it is. Can this person, the owner of the actual vehicle, explain his or her movements? And even if he can, has he come forward previously to volunteer where he was, where she was? If not, why not? Were there also passengers in this vehicle? Now, I think the odds rise in favor of a perpetrator if there weren't any passengers. I think if there were passengers, then it becomes a scenario of, well, someone was innocently in the area having fun. Does that make sense? The fact that this is rising to the surface now, 3 weeks later, I think makes it quite a prominent announcement. Do you agree? Now, the terms from the press release read as follows. This came out December 7th, just come out from the Moscow Police Department. Reads as follows. Detectives are interested in speaking with the occupant /S, so they also can't be sure whether it's one or two, and they obviously don't clarify whether it's a male or female. They don't say, we're looking for the guy. I suppose they wouldn't put it that way, but they leave it in the gender-neutral occupants of a white 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra. Now, the fact that they know the color and the type of the vehicle, they don't just say a white sedan, suggests that whatever information they have is fairly high quality. 2011 to 2013 is fairly specific. What is unspecific is the license plate, so it might just be a side view or a distance view of the vehicle. Then they say how they got that information. So per the press release, tips and leads have led investigators to look for additional information about a vehicle being in the immediate area of the King Street residence, right? Now, again, one wonders what that means. Is immediate area, was it parked right there? Was it parked around the corner? Exactly how and where was it parked? But those are quite strong words. Immediate area suggests it wasn't kind of around the block. It is relevant. It was right there. What was it doing there? Was it visiting one of the survivors? Was it hovering there for some time, or did it arrive? Did it arrive late, as in 3 o'clock in the morning, and then leave as well? And so, who observed it during that time? Was it the driver, the driver that dropped off, the private party that dropped off the girls? Did he observe something? You would imagine no, because this has only come out now. Or it's a possibility that law enforcement have had this information and feel like it's the one thing that they can actually release to the public because of this tension about why they're not telling us anything. So maybe it's something that hasn't emerged recently. I somehow imagine it has. In any event, they say early morning hours of November 13th. So that is, it's not the day before, the day after, right? So this is really, in terms of the fabric of the case, it looks really, really relevant. They summarize, or they end off what they say there by saying, investigators believe the occupant of this vehicle may have critical information to share. In other words, they're leaving it open that this person may just be a witness, right? Of course, through inference, you can also imagine that, well, they may have critical information because they may be the killer, right? That's an easy inference to make. So I think a big question that arises is, how did this information come into the hands of law enforcement? Was it based on an eyewitness? Was it based on CCTV? Was it based on body cam or some sort of digital evidence? Or even a combination? I would wage the latter. I would say that to date, Ali say they've received over 1,000 digital media submissions. And I think it's likely taken until now to sift through all of that and do a sort of Jason Bourne guy in the chair thing, looking at footage and trying to see what sticks out, what is suspicious. Live tracking, where you sort of see satellites, the cameras moving and following someone in real time, that sort of thing that you see in movies is kind of a myth. The reality is searching for a needle in a haystack, where the haystack isn't moving and the needle isn't moving either. It's basically going through mostly irrelevant media noise, lots of images that really don't mean anything, and then playing catch up. It's a very static, slow process, but it's also systematic. When I spoke during last night's live of the dirt road, and shining a light over the dirt road exposes the nuances, well, this vehicle, looking for the killer through this vehicle, is kind of like that. It suddenly narrows down, it excludes a lot of unnecessary noise from what you're looking at. Does that make sense? But it is a fairly slow and systematic process. Now, if you think about it, driving a white car late at night, as part of the process of trying to commit a stealthy crime, well, that isn't smart. But perhaps the vehicle is innocently part of the fabric. Law enforcement aren't specific about when the vehicle was spotted. They're sticking to the fairly general terms of early morning hours. To be fair, that's the time many revelers were going home. It's the time that the 4 victims were sort of going home as well. So it comes back to the issue, how important is this particular item? Let's imagine it is important. Then, even if we don't know the identity of the driver, let's say the driver is the perpetrator, what does this vehicle, this type of vehicle, say about the perpetrator? Well, it seems to suggest they have fairly standard tastes. it seems to suggest that, I mean, compare this vehicle to, let's say, the vehicle belonging to Kaylee, the new vehicle. It's not quite as snazzy as that, is it? On the other hand, it suggests someone that is fairly privileged. It doesn't seem to be, it's a second-hand vehicle, but it's not a bad second-hand vehicle, certainly better than the vehicle I had during college, right? So what does it say about them? Does it say that they stand out in a crowd? What does this vehicle say? It kind of gives one a somewhat average sense of who we're talking about. What does this vehicle say about the perpetrator? Now, because we're looking at stock photos, we've got no idea of what kind of condition the vehicle was in. Was it pretty banged up? Was there some rust? Or was it in good shape? So if we actually saw the actual vehicle, you'd have a better idea how well it was taken care of and what sort of discount the owner got for buying it, probably second-hand, or was it a hand-me-down? If it was a hand-me-down, it would give an even better indication, is someone not coming forward? Because someone who handed this vehicle down would know it was their vehicle, right? So anyway, it's clues like this that could change the face and pace of this investigation in the blink of an eye. I mean, doesn't it feel like things have suddenly sped up more than a few notches? I also think if credible, crowdsourcing this particular item of evidence I think it could allow the true crime community to deliver on its potential promise to do good, to find answers. Well, will we? Time will tell. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.